majority villain.
Majority villain is rated F for foul language.
I don't want to specifically talk about Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton, but
So don't say their names.
we're not going to. We're going to about beep and beep.
Ronald Rump and Hillary Clinton.
I think we're seeing Trump light. If somebody came across along who was classier,
Does this person exist? Because I'm pretty sure they were part of the 17 candidates that ran for the Republican nomination. The Trump of the future, Marco Rubio. Yeah, I can see it. Who are you going to vote for?
well, I will not be voting for Donald Trump. I will not be voting for Hillary Clinton. Period. I won't do it.
Ronald Rump, Hillary Clinton.
Hi, boys and girls. This is Greg, and you are listening to Majority Villain. That other dude you just heard is Graham Rue, co-host of the show, and that was a little snippet of our conversation earlier that we had about the Commission on Presidential Debates, or the CPD, and how they monopolize the institution in order to exclude third and fourth party candidates. So while we talk a little bit about Clinton and Trump, the show really ain't about Clinton and Trump. It's about a much deeper institutional problem. So, enjoy the show, love the show. Thank you so much for tuning in. Peace!
This was locker room talk.
This is how Donald thinks.
Sign on with the devil.
That he was for the invasion of Iraq.
What is a leopard?
Robbing America. How the CPD monopolizes information. As the 2016 presidential election comes to an end, there is just one thing we can all be sure that we agree on. We're just glad it's almost over.
You should be ashamed of yourself.
As Clinton and Trump, they squabble about who is more sexual assaulting, Trump or Clinton.
But Bill Clinton was abusive to women. Hillary Clinton attacked those same women.
Donald talking about women, what he thinks about women, what he does to women.
And she's seen laughing on two separate occasions, laughing at the girl who was raped. Kathy Shelton, that young woman, is here with us tonight.
Who loves Israel more? And ISIS. Holy shit, ISIS.
It's radical Islamic terror.
Google Donald Trump, Iraq.
It's easy to think seeing this Democratic debacle come to an end would be a victory, that we're all going to win, because thank God it's over. Unfortunately, it's just the beginning, because one of these candidates is going to win the election in November. And this is what our democracy has devolved into. There's two politicians indisputably electable because they're not the other one.
So she's allowed to do that, but I'm not allowed to respond.
You're going to get to
Sounds
respond
fair.
right now.
That sounds fair.
Almost cartoonish type of antithesis.
There was even a time when he didn't get an Emmy for his TV program 3 years in a row, and he started tweeting that the Emmys were rigged again.
Should have gotten it.
This is a mindset.
Like total opposites. It makes you think that these are deeply opposed candidates, and on some hot button issues they are. But in the end, they may not really be as different as you think. I mean, of course, certainly Trump's shamelessness in bragging about sexual assault,
This was locker room talk.
avoiding taxes,
Maybe he's not as rich as he says he is.
and awkward use of words such as bigly. Don, that's not a real word.
That makes
If
me
he's
smart.
paid, this is how Donald thinks.
They scream of a man much less presidential than Hillary Clinton.
Wrong.
He's certainly not somebody most would want to leave around their mother,
Wrong.
daughter,
Wrong.
sister,
Wrong.
wife,
Wrong.
or any woman for that matter.
Wrong.
Truth be told, no one should be comfortable leaving Hillary alone on a stage with him.
Sounds fair.
It's telling that the candidate Democrats put up against this guy
President of the
No
United
puppet,
States,
no puppet.
And it's pretty clear
You're the puppet. No, you're
that
the
the
puppet.
Russians.
is still struggling. Journalists such as Chris Hedges argue that the type of failed neoliberal policies politicians like Clinton have promoted helped to create the populist monster known as Donald Trump. Policies like expand capitalism, democracy is not nearly as important as a free market. Just remember that, kids.
Oh, Google it.
The hard truth is both of the two major candidates embody so much of what is wrong with politics today. It's hard to believe that either one of them will work for the best interests of the American people. In reality, it's probably easier to see their similarities if I just mention what they haven't discussed. For instance, climate change. Believe it or not, there was only 2 seconds of climate change coverage in the last debate. In 3 90-minute debates, we're talking like a handful of minutes. If it's such a big deal, and we all agree that, or most of us agree, that it's a totally catastrophic consequence if we don't do something about climate change, how the hell can we allow 2 major presidential candidates to barely even discuss it? Here's Hillary Clinton commenting on climate change without really giving any specific details about what she would do about it. And of course, Donald Trump is doing whatever crazy people do at this moment when facts confront fiction.
Donald thinks that climate change is a hoax perpetrated by the Chinese. I think it's real.
I did not.
Science is real.
I do not say that.
And I think it's important that we grip this and deal with it, both at home and abroad. And here's what we can do. We can deploy 500 million more solar panels. We can have enough clean energy to power every home. We can build a new modern electric grid. That's a lot of jobs. That's a lot of new economic activity. So I've tried to be very specific about what we can and should do, and I am determined that we're going to get the economy really moving again, building on the progress we've made over the last 8 years, but never going back to what got us in trouble in the first place.
Mr. Trump.
She talks about solar panels. We invested in a solar company, our country. That was a disaster. They lost plenty of money on that one. Now, look, I'm a great believer in all forms of energy, but we're putting a lot of people out of work. Our energy policies are a disaster.
And that's about it.
Shame. Shame. Shame.
Or Afghanistan. Not a peep on America's longest running war, now 15 years, and arguably one of America's most expensive wars. It's a country still in shambles, neglecting to even mention the price paid by our veterans. Not one critique of Israel's settlements in Palestine. The rest of the world readily acknowledges are illegal, while the U.S. keeps shucking out billions and billions of dollars in weapons, even giving more money this year in weapons. What about Black Lives Matter, police violence, economic inequality? Crickets! Neither discussed Yemen or the United States' sale of billions of dollars in weapons to the Saudis, now ravishing the country. While there was talk about bringing Russia and the Syrian government up on war crimes for acts committed against the Syrian people, there's still no mention of the roles the U.S. plays when it bombs civilians or a hospital. In fact, there's not one bit of truth concerning hypocritical U.S. expectations of Russia at all. Evidently, the duo are completely tone deaf when it comes to anything Russia. From Trump's deals with Russian oligarchs and his really strange enthusiasm for Putin, to Hillary's frustration with Russia for the WikiLeaks hack.
And she's playing chicken. Look, Putin, from everything I see, has no respect for this person.
But is that deserving of a pass to actually discuss any of those hacks? Why don't the moderators bring these questions up? Why do they get a pass on all of these topics, given all of the media attention? One might think there were only 2 candidates, but you might be surprised to learn a whopping 1,896 candidates filed a statement of candidacy with the Federal Election Commission. Ballots like Colorado had 21 different presidential tickets. However, of these nearly 2,000 candidates, only 4 are on enough ballots to win the Electoral College majority. That's the magic number of 270 votes needed to win the election. One is Libertarian presidential nominee Gary
What is Aleppo?
Johnson.
You're kidding.
With VP nominee Bill Weld. The other is Green Party presidential nominee Jill Stein with her VP Ajamu Baraka. Okay, obviously 1,896 presidential candidates can't debate on one stage. I get that. That makes sense. I mean, what is this? A Republican candidate debate? What are we doing here? But certainly 4 possible winners could debate. I mean, simply being in the debates it adds an enormously incalculable advantage to any candidate. Donald Trump. So why aren't we seeing that debate? The short answer is the Commission on Presidential Debates, or CPD, said no.
But who? Where did these people come from?
I'm glad you asked. Even though the Commission on Presidential Debates sounds like an official, bureaucratic, federal entity, it ain't. It is a private organization. It's owned and maintained by the Democratic and Republican parties. That's a real thing. So if the Democrats and Republicans get to decide who should be allowed to debate, it should come as no surprise that only Democrats and Republicans actually debate. That might be fine and dandy, it might not be an issue at all, but that's why you end up with conversations in the debates exactly like this one.
Maybe he doesn't want the American people, all of you watching tonight, to know that he's paid nothing in federal taxes.
Are the 33,000 emails.
Then Trump University gets sued for fraud and racketeering. He claims the court system and the federal judge is rigged against him.
Please allow her to respond. She didn't talk while you talked.
Yes, that's true. I didn't. And I didn't in the first debate, and I'm going to try not to in this debate.
And if you don't remember that, that's because it didn't happen. That's the magic of editing, just like the CPD edits out third parties. But it wasn't always this way. Once upon a time, the debates were hosted by the League of Women Voters, a nonpartisan group dedicated to transparency in government. Oh my God, what a concept! And the right to vote for every American. Oh my God, I'm taking crazy pills! Despite their commitment to the process, a rival debate commission sprang up. And in 1988, Republican National Committee Chair Frank Fahrenkopf Jr. and Democratic National Committee Chair Paul Kirk began to co-chair the CPD, requesting that the League of Women Voters get the hell out of the way. So the Democratic and Republican parties were effectively confiscating the debate process from the hands of ordinary, dirty, filthy people. What the hell do you know about politics? Providing both the red team and the blue team with a media monopoly to limit the education of voters. Consequently, in 1988, the League withdrew from the process. From a Washington, D.C. press release that year, quote, "The League of Women Voters is withdrawing its sponsorship of the presidential debate scheduled for mid-October because the demands of the two campaign organizations would perpetuate a fraud on the American voter," League President Nancy M. Newman said today. Yeah, well, it seems like light words. What's the big deal, Nancy? Get over it. She goes on. The League has no intention of becoming an accessory to the hoodwinking of the American public. Most objectionable to the League, Newman said, were conditions in the agreement that gave the campaigns unprecedented control over the proceedings. Newman called outrageous the campaign's demands that they control the selection of questioners, the composition of the audience, hall access for the press, and other issues. End quote. The two campaigns sought to choreograph the entire debate process. Democrats and Republicans could literally filter through what questions were asked, and who asks them and where they debate. Think about that. Chris Wallace in this final debate made very clear in the beginning, the candidates have not seen these questions. And we saw in the WikiLeaks that Hillary Clinton was getting shown some of these questions ahead of time. Why would they even mention that in the Chris Wallace debate if that was the case? It could be, maybe it isn't. The point is, we'll never know because there's no transparency around the process. Democrats and Republicans could filter through the questions. What questions are asked, who asks them, and where they debate. The League of Women Voters saw through this bogus BS of an agreement aimed to keep power among these two parties. And so when the League quit, the CPD took their place. And the rest is history. Former co-chair Paul Kirk resigned in 2009. Frank Fahrenkopf remains. Now, in the early years, he remained Republican National Committee chair until 1989, despite being the CPD chair starting in 86. Yeah, you heard me right. So for 3 years, he held the interests of both the RNC and the CPD. You know, as if that wasn't bad enough, right? Oh, there's no conflict of interest in being the RNC chair and the Commission on Presidential Debates chair. I don't see a problem. Right, fine, okay, whatever. In 1995, he even became president of the American Gaming Association. You know, like casino gambling.
Oh my God. It seems like a real stand-up guy.
Super stand-up guy.
Somebody I want controlling the presidential debates.
How could there possibly be a conflict of interest for the Casino and Gambling American Gaming Association president, right? Well, what about this? In 2000, an issue of Casino and Gaming International magazine, yeah, that's a real magazine, believe it or not, Farnkopf wrote about the need for gaming executives to influence lawmakers. He said, quote, "Many of these members know little about the gaming industry, which creates a unique opportunity for us. It is vital to securing a seat at the table during any congressional negotiations that could have an impact on our industry. We continue to work to amplify our voice on Capitol Hill," end quote.
Ooh. Who the fuck knows what's going through a guy's head like that? Like, talk about the most conflicted... I mean, obviously no moral compass. Done.
No.
That left a long time ago, right? Advancement of his own career and his own bank account. Done. That's what he's for.
I think here's the thing, is I don't want to go conspiratorial about it, okay? So I think there must be, for a lot of these guys that hold these sorts of positions, thinking that there must be some sort of altruistic idealism about what they're doing. So maybe he thinks, yeah, okay, a little less democracy is good so long as we can, like, help persuade the American public what I think is good for them.
Yeah, what I think is good for them.
Right, which is totally anti-democratic, but could be seen to be pragmatic at the very least, or like paternal. You know, I'm doing this for your own good.
Jesus, that's fucking sick. I know better. I know better for you than you know better for you. So,
but let me ask you this: I do not want to talk about this, but do you feel like voting for Clinton helps support a system like this, where open debates are not allowed? I clearly believe that you think open debates would be a good thing.
Yeah.
That everybody who has a chance of winning should at least have the chance to debate.
Yeah.
It wasn't too much to have 17 Republicans on the stage at one time. Why would 4 be such a problem?
It wasn't out of question to have 2 Republican debates, one for the lower ranked tiers and one for the bigwigs, you know?
Yeah.
So I vote for Hillary Clinton. I'm not confident in it. I see a lot more progress and I see negativity coming from it. There's no way in fucking hell I'd ever support a Donald Trump presidency. I don't know how he still has a fucking campaign, honestly.
Okay, but how does voting for a member like that, for a candidate like that, allow for a different sort of process? How does that change the system by continuing to play by rules like that? At what point do you say, okay, enough of these rules, we do something different?
It's more of like a, hey, fuckboy Donald Trump and your cronies, we will not stand for your kind of politics anymore. You know, there's a progressive agenda on the plate, you know. We'll see how it goes. I'm willing to see how it goes for 4 years. Fine with me. Who's to say the spark hasn't been ignited already for the change that we will see in the future? But not with a Donald Trump presidency. Never, ever, ever, ever. Not even if there was a fire. Because how are we all going to get out when there's that giant wall that Mexico paid for?
So Frank Farnkopf began his career. What was he doing before he was destroying democracy? Well, he began his career as an attorney. Strangely enough, can you believe it? He's a lawyer. He argued in 1975 for the Tobacco Institute. He wrote in the Nevada State Journal that year that legislating against tobacco was a, quote, Big Brother approach, an attempt to legislate morals and public behavior. He said the claims that tobacco smoking is hazardous to the non-smokers is just a facade, disguising what is an attempt by one group of persons to write their own prejudices into the law.
Oh, Frank, what the fuck are you doing?
Seemingly a moot point, Fahrenkopf was still given by the Nevada Lung Association the Man of the Year award in 1983.
Come on!
That takes real chops in L.A. Real chops. Well, in 1985, Fahrenkopf began working for Hogan and Hartson LLP. He eventually worked his way up to become chairman. And in 2010, Hogan merged with London-based Lovells, becoming Hogan and Lovells LLP, where he is currently on council. Now, even though the newly created Lovells was one of the United States' largest lobbying firms to the government, spending a cool, handsome $12.3 million in 2013, seemingly, no one in Washington seems to give a shit that the conflict of interest of a CPD chair could have in controlling the debates while simultaneously lobbying on behalf of special interests. What could go wrong? Hogan and Lovells' MO is working with clients to help shape laws in their favor. Their words, not mine. In 2013, they created the, quote, Coalition for Privacy and Free Trade. In an internal document, the firm stated the intent of the newly formed coalition was to set itself up to benefit from the United States and the European Union's intentions to mediate the Transatlantic Trade and Investment Partnership, also known as TTIP, and also Japan's desire to join the Trans-Pacific Partnership negotiations, known as TPP. Now, these two long controversial trade deals that President Obama has been trying to fast-track through Congress, not allowing them to look at it before they voted on it. That's what President Barack Obama wanted. They've long supported these sorts of trade deals. And this isn't new for them. This year, after the UK Brexit vote, they distributed a pamphlet to potential clients in the United Kingdom called Brexit, Shaping Your Future. And it's as good as it sounds. In it, Lovells staff write, quote, we can help you to develop a strategy for shaping the law, regulations, and arrangements. Now that is some serious customer service. When shaping the law for your clients is your business, it's your bread and butter. Privacy and working behind closed doors is just totally paramount to success. Everything has to be done in complete confidentiality. This has clearly been decisive to a person like Frank Fahrenkopf, right? In the past, donors and sponsors to the Commission on Presidential Debates have included firms like tobacco giant Philip Morris and Budweiser parent company Anheuser-Busch. Yeah, that's Philip Morris sponsoring the Commission on Presidential Debates. Ooh, that was a tough conversation on Supreme Court appointees. Now smoke up with a cool, tasty Marlboro. I can taste the freedom. And guzzle it down with a tall glass of America. Right, Budweiser? Isn't that right? Today, the commission keeps its donors and sponsors secret. I wonder why. Because when they were public, they were criticized for having corporate-funded debates. Yeah, no shit. And in 2012, 3 sponsors quit due to public pressure. So when anybody tells you that getting out on the street with your feet and protesting and making a big hubbub on Facebook and Twitter and social media, it doesn't do anything to curb what the big boys are going to do, proof in the pudding. Democracy works. Public pressure. 3 sponsors in 2012 dropped out. A man of many talents. Is a very tremendous man. Bigly tremendous man. I would know. Believe me.
Side note before we go any further, Frank Fahrenkopf actually sits on the board of directors of 8 different New York Stock Exchange companies. 8. 7 of those companies are under the Mario Gabelli investment family. That's what we call dirty fingers.
According to Forbes, quote, Gabelli enjoys 10% of the firm's pre-tax profit and variable compensation instead of taking a salary, bonus, or stock options. He was reportedly Wall Street's highest paid chief executive when he took home $85 million in 2013. Ain't no small potatoes, okay? So this guy Gabelli knows his shit. Now, Gabelli's GameCo is the umbrella company and invests in companies such as ExxonMobil, AIG, Disney, Pfizer, Monsanto, Wells Fargo, Citigroup, and defense contractors like Halliburton and Honeywell. In particular interest is Gabelli's acute awareness of media trends and mergers and broadcasting companies like 21st Century Fox and EW Scripps Company, which owns 33 television stations in 24 markets. Again, ain't no small patatas in here. Fahrenkopf's ties to GameCo's investments directly expose Wall Street's corrupting influence on media and politics. How? Back in 2000, the Commission on Presidential Debates instituted a rule requiring that in addition to a candidate's ticket having a mathematical chance of winning the required 270 electorate votes, they must also poll at 15% or higher in 5 specific polls. ABC Washington Post, CBS New York Times, CNN Opinion Research Corporation, Fox News, and NBC Wall Street Journal. ABC News is owned by Disney. 21st Century Fox owns, naturally, Fox News, which, by the way, not real news. NBC, owned by Comcast. All of these belong to the GameCo portfolio. Currently, Gabelli has been pushing for the merger of CBS and Viacom, of which he holds the most financial interest, second only to that spring chicken 93-year-old Sumner Redstone. Now, if CBS and Viacom were to merge, that would make at least 4 of the 5 polls fall under the GameCo umbrella. They can shape these polls however they want, you know. Who will you vote for? Will you vote for Hillary Clinton or Donald Trump? They don't even tell you who's on the ticket. And they may say, hey, if the election was held today, who would you vote for? As opposed to saying, who do you plan on voting for in November? Or who do you think will win the election? Instead of saying, who would you like to win the election in November? The fact that candidates have to play by these polls has almost zero bearing on what their popularity would be if people just knew who the hell they were. In the end, Frank Fahrenkopf is one of the most important gatekeepers in a handful of political establishment insiders. He's responsible for informing voters who the candidates for the President of the United States are. His close relationship with power elites and special interest lobbyists such as himself, they're eager to write every line of international law in their own favor. While many of us are left scratching our heads wondering why we cannot have a better choice than Clinton or Trump, insiders like Frank Fahrenkopf have worked very hard to make sure that we don't.
Fucking America. I want to break the law. I need a settling resolve with true humanity. I pledge allegiance to intensity, song, and dance. So with all the blood, my heart will offer up this fire, bitch.
Hear my fluttering, one beats and another. Who dares to make no difference? Over and over, I'll be your open sky, floating on the sea. Won't you run away with me?
What I think of the third-party debate?
Yeah, why do we have to have? It's like an adult table and the kiddie table. Why do we have to have a second set of debates at all?
Money.
Is it all about sponsorships?
I mean, super PACs, sponsorships, corporate money, individual donor. Well, we don't have a lot of individual donors, let's face it. Trump is still self-funded.
That's what he says.
He's been using the money that he has been getting for solid gold fixtures in his Trump airplane. That he's also paying himself to use.
Yeah, he's been paying himself from his campaign. Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, he is the dirtiest, and he uses all his own products and whatever when he goes somewhere.
He still had a fucking when he had the fucking birther announcement last week or the week before, I started it. I put it into it. There was still a fucking slabs of fucking Trump steaks, Trump wine, and Trump water still on the stage, like self-promotion in a hotel that he had just revamped. He's like, oh, this is a great hotel in D.C., you know, which I'm pretty sure that he took loans from the government at a, you know, put up only a fraction of what it costs to redo it, and then shell corporation ownership into his daughter and son.
God, he's the fucking shadiest.
The shadiest of shady.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. And people are like, he's going to make it a great again. How? Are you fucking serious? Tell me how. Unbelievable.
I think in general, Americans are just so unplugged. We're not informed, and money rules everything. And that is a bad... Oh, and completely inundated with entertainment. That is such a bad combination for a functioning society.
Trump app. Think about that.
Is there a Trump app?
There should be. Make America Great Again. It's like you're like a wall builder and hotel. It'd be like a combination of like hotel tycoon and fucking Minecraft where you build walls. Great Again app. Yep. Make apps great again.
This is fucking so stupid.
The crown king of America was caught without his pants and stoned to death with song and dance. You told me this was my land, and so I did believe. Won't you run away? Won't you run away? Won't you run away?
Majority Villain is on a mission to podcast the shit out of democracy. Produced and hosted by Greg Haddock, co-hosted by Graham Rue, with help from Andrea Schmidt. All music is provided by the freemusicarchive.org under Creative Commons licensing. For a full list of today's contributors, visit majorityvillain.com or check out the show notes on your device. Find and like the show on Facebook and Twitter @majorityvillain and email greg@majorityvillain.com.
Status quo. Afo. Suckers.
Welcome to the Federal Election Commission's toll-free information line. The Information Division.
Hi, I would like to call to register a complaint. I think Frank Fahrenkopf is a lobbyist with Hogan & Lovells, LLP, a firm that's working to pass the TTP and TTIP. And it seems to me that he should not be the co-chair of the Commission on Presidential Debates.
Okay. The FEC doesn't really regulate the Commission on Presidential Debates, though. Concern has been there, and we've gotten, a number of comments and over the years, not just this year, but other previous years, over the fact that maybe the debates should be structured differently or set up differently, and particularly with respect to other candidates participating. So it's not something that's that we haven't heard anyway. So
I was reading that Anheuser-Busch has been a sponsor for a number of years, and even in the 90s, Philip Morris was. It's kind of weird, right?
Mm-hmm. It does seem odd. I mean that that they could be able to sponsor debates like that, but you're talking about corporations giving to the sponsoring organization. That's not something that's absolutely prohibited in the rules, as odd as that might seem.
Yeah, it does sound odd. Do you think that's something that the FEC might someday look at?
There have been requests to look at kind of the structure of debates and maybe revise the rules on it. I would say, there's certain things, obviously, the FEC probably could do, under its own authority, but a lot of this would have to come through change in the law.
Yeah, well, thank you very much. It's been very helpful. I appreciate that.
Okay. Yes, my pleasure.
All right, have a good day.
Okay, you too. Thank you.
You bet. Party on.
Bye-bye.
Well, there you have it, folks. The FEC doesn't give a shit. All right. Okay. Well, look, this has been Majority Villain. I can't help you. If the FEC can't save us, nobody can. In any case, the more you know.